Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to these reminders of during the month of Ramadan. Today is episode number 8, and today I want to remind you about Shukr lillah. Alhamdulillah wa shukru lillah. And among the people of wisdom they say Alhamdulillah wa shukru lillah ala kulli hal. In all circumstances, in all states, we recognize the hamd, that the praise belongs to Allah, and we thank Allah. Thankfulness to Allah or gratitude to Allah stands as one of the most profound aspects of the deen of Islam. Is necessary, is obligatory for anyone who has wisdom. As Allah Himself in the Quran, He reminds us to be grateful to Him. In Surah Ibrahim, number 17, ayat 7, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you are grateful, I will surely increase you in favor. But if you deny, indeed, my punishment is severe. End of the quote. So, gratefulness is presented here as almost identical to belief, the opposite of the deniers, because it's a quality of the mu'min, it's a quality of the person who is in the path of worshipping and is a Muslim. Gratefulness implies, apart from the obvious thankfulness on account of everything that we have, that Allah gives us, meaning the water that we drink, the air that we breathe, everything, not just the things that they are equally necessary for living, the shelter, the love of our families, etc. But it goes into not just what you say and not the things that they manifest obviously, but a state of thankfulness that transforms our actions, our thoughts, and our intentions. It is in that way that it becomes a state of the heart, and just in the same way that you can say thank you for something, but you don't mean it. That will be the head that is speaking, and you can say it manifestly, in public, in private. But when it becomes a state of thankfulness, it changes the way in which you act, and it changes also the way you think and the intentions of every action that you undertake. This thankfulness, if brought to if you can increase it, if you can move forward into its realization, it changes you from a cognitive point of view. So in other words, your immediate benefit is to you, changing the way in which you understand the world, and therefore cognitive, a labor of the heart, and therefore cognitive, is a path of transformation that changes the way you understand everything. Now, if just like when we speak about certainty, or when we speak about tawakkul or love of Allah, this is all a path. So there is to the degree of thankfulness that you have, there is still something more and deeper, something that it can increase, and therefore you start in one state and you can continue and continue and continue, and in every makam, in every state that you acquire, the things change at a cognitive level. This cognitive capacity of thanking is it becomes, that affects the way of thinking, is an important element of our deen, as it is obligatory, of course, but it is important because it changes the relationship that you have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It transforms everything in your life in a deeper way. When Martin Heidegger wrote his famous dissertation about the limitations of reason in Sign on Sight, he became aware that what we call thinking in the tradition of the West is limited, and rationality has its boundaries. And for the rest of his life, he spent his academic life and his literary work to understanding what lies beyond thinking. And he, after various paths that he undertook, he ended up with statements such as science doesn't think, and a thinking that cannot think the truth is not thinking, meaning or highlighting the limitations that rational thinking has. If you cannot think the truth, you cannot think. And in one of his latest books, What is Thinking, he goes back into the tradition, the German tradition, which is also the English tradition, in which the word for thinking was thank. So to say I'm thinking, in the old English word, was to thank. And thank meant gratitude, but also was a way of expressing thinking. So you understand something with thanking. And so he elaborates on this in order to realize that thankfulness brings you closer to understand reality than it will be just to elaborate on the basis of rational principles or standard rationales or narratives that the society brings about. So in other words, in order to penetrate into the meaning of something, you have to be thankful. And that was the tradition, and then it, through various ways, it differentiated between thank, which is the way we understand thank, and thinking as the way we understand it today. Now, going back to this, and recognizing that Heidegger, at the end of his life, he ended up with the statement, what lies beyond thinking must be the thinking of the heart, yet he couldn't elaborate on this. Now, if you take it, if you translate it into the old English, it will be something like is the way that lies ahead of thinking, of rational thinking, is the thanking of the heart, the thanking of the heart, the thinking of the heart, the thanking of the heart. Now that opens a complete different dimension to the whole idea of thanking, because it's not just gratitude per se, but it contains in itself an understanding of the world around you, and naturally the same thing about you, to be thankful about what you have, and thankfulness about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be thankful to Him. If you want to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in other words, if you want to think the truth, you have to thank the truth. You have to be thankful. You have to recognize your state. You have to recognize that you are a slave. And if you understand that you are a slave, that you can think by thanking. And that itself transforms everything around you. Thankfulness is your shield against any form of anxiety or depression or anything that happens of that nature that belongs to people who have no knowledge. What I call people in Makan zero. These people cannot see, because they are only concerned with the things that they are missing, something that is taken away from them, and they are broken, without recognizing what Allah has given them. And that is the nature of the people, that they have no understanding, they have no wisdom. They only focus on the things that they don't have, and they miss, therefore, everything that they have. Imagine, it's almost like a curse. You will only be focusing on the things that you don't have, that you are missing, without ever tasting, enjoying, by means of being thankful, of the things that you have. Is a terrible condition that takes you deeper and deeper into darkness. For the very nature of Makan Zero is darkness, and beyond that is terror, the terror of meaninglessness. Nothing has meaning. I found myself empty. That is itself the condition of not being thankful. So if you want a remedy for this, an instant remedy for this, as instantaneous as it is to be sincere of it, all you have to do is to say, thank Allah for everything that I have. Thank with sincerity, with your heart. And then you realize how many reasons do you have in order to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and therefore you understand who you are. Allah gives you and takes away from you. And when Allah gives something to you, you say Alhamdulillah wa shukr lillah. And when He gives something to you, you say Alhamdulillah wa shukr lillah. This is the state of the people of wisdom. This is the state of the people who say Alhamdulillah wa shukr lillah ala kulli hal. In times of desperation, when Allah takes something from you that you cannot bear, even then, the remedy is Alhamdulillah wa shukr lillah, so that you understand, so that you can enjoy, so that you can navigate through this world in the light rather than in the darkness. So today I wanted to remind you about Shukr, and I remind you to be thankful to Allah in all the conditions and all the states, whether you understand it or not. Because in the perseverance of that thankfulness and the sincerity of this thankfulness, then you will increase and you will become closer to Him, which is the objective, the only objective of life. Now Fatiha. Bisirri wa barakati. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum.